Live from Chicago, this is News 3 Now's special coverage of the Democratic National Convention.
Right now, all eyes will be on Minnesota Governor Tim Walz tonight as he prepares to take the stage at the Democratic National Convention.
Also, we will hear from Milwaukee Mayor Cavalier Johnson as he prepares to speak at the convention tonight, the message that he is hoping to relay to voters. It's all ahead on News 3 Now at 6. Well, good evening and thanks for joining us. We are coming to you live once again from the Lincoln Park Zoo in Chicago, where it is day 3 of the Democratic National Convention. Another beautiful day across the region, and today's theme is fighting for our freedoms at the DNC.
Tonight, we will see Vice President Harris and Second Gentleman Emhoff here in Chicago and in attendance once again. But the headline for tonight is Democratic Vice Presidential nominee Governor Tim Walz taking the spotlight on the convention stage. There, Walz will formally accept the VP nomination.
That's right, and we have team coverage all across the convention area here in Chicago today. And right now we're going to start inside the United Center, and that's where Brady Mallory has more on Governor Tim Walz and his speech tonight. Brady?
Of course, when you send it to me, a big rock band starts playing. It's like I'm at a concert right now. Okay, it's quieted down now. There we go. It's getting started. There are a lot of big names here tonight. Kenan Thompson is here, John Legend is here, and reportedly Oprah Winfrey is here. But the biggest name will be on that stage later, and that, of course, is Minnesota Governor Tim Walz. This could be the biggest stage of his political career so far, as he is set to accept the vice presidential nominee for the Democratic Party. Now, this will be many Americans' first glimpse of Governor Walz. According to the Harris-Walz campaign, he will look to introduce himself to voters by highlighting values he says were instilled from his Nebraska upbringing. In his speech, Walz plans to draw a line from his early years in the Sandhills of Nebraska to his work as a teacher, football coach, member of Congress, and governor. That's what campaign aides are telling us. And he'll also say those roots helped shape his service in the National Guard, which has emerged as a point of controversy. Walz will seek to connect that all to Harris's plans for working families and call on the crowd to help get her elected. Videos will also play throughout the convention highlighting his service as a National Guardsman and teacher. There are some other big names, of course, taking the stage. Former President Bill Clinton is set to speak, former Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi, and Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg. I've said this before, and I want to make note of it again. Being from Minnesota, and I've talked to a lot of rural Minnesota voters, even though Walz has positioned himself as a fighter for rural communities, he's not necessarily popular in those same rural communities. He's faced a lot of criticism over how he handled the COVID pandemic and how he handled the Black Lives Matter movement following unrest in Minneapolis. So tonight he really has to try to appeal to those rural voters nationwide who might not know who they're voting for yet. So we'll see if his speech can do that. We will have all of that recap later on tonight. Back to you, Eric and Charlotte.
Brady, thank you. We're tracking Wisconsin speakers at the DNC throughout the week, and tonight that includes Cavalier Johnson.
Of course, the mayor of Milwaukee. And for more, let's go to the United Center floor, and that's where we find our political reporter, Will Keneally, with more. Hey, Will.
That's right. So we are very politically important in Wisconsin. Certainly, we're one of the few key states that will decide the November election. So we've been tracking throughout the week what kind of presence Wisconsin will have at the DNC. And as you mentioned, Milwaukee Mayor Cavalier Johnson will make an appearance. Now, just 4 years ago for 2020, the DNC was supposed to be in Milwaukee. As we know, COVID put a wrench in that plan, certainly. But Harris and Walz, both that entire ticket there, was in Milwaukee for a rally yesterday. Now, we spoke with Cavalier Johnson about the parallels there between the 2020, what would have been the DNC, and that rally yesterday.
So that was a way, I think, to show Milwaukee, and not just Milwaukee, but Wisconsin, that Democrats have not forgotten about us. They still value us. They want to earn the votes of people in our state.
And so Cavalier Johnson also told us that I believe it would have been 4 years to the date of yesterday's rally is when Biden would have accepted the nomination for presidency in Milwaukee. So a lot of parallels that we're seeing there. We'll continue, though, to keep an eye on everything down on the floor here throughout the night. But for now, reporting from the United Center floor, Will Keneally, News 3 Now.
Well, thank you. We've seen a lot of excitement at the United Center the past couple of days. The Democrats are hoping to carry on the energy from the convention to your TV screen.
And our Ellie La Liberté shows us how both parties are really looking to ramp up the advertising ahead of November. I know that's what everybody looks for, but more advertising, get ready for it, folks.
Eric
Ellie,
and
let's go to
Charlotte,
you.
both parties are looking to turn views to votes. Now, the Harris and Walz campaign is doing that by looking forward to a possible future with Kamala Harris as president, where the Republican Party is looking at a past with Donald Trump in office. Now, you've definitely seen those advertisements on your TV, but maybe also on your phone. The Harris-Walz campaign says it will spend roughly $370 million on both television and digital advertisements between Labor Day and Election Day. It will also invest double in Wisconsin compared to 2020.
We are going to be out in front of people. We are going to make sure that people know exactly what these two visions are. And you'll see a lot of us, especially in Wisconsin, from now until November.
On the Republican side of the ticket, one of the goals is responding to Democrats.
The resources to be competitive, and we're spending those resources to make sure that we get the message out there, whether that's through advertisements or otherwise. We're building that world-class rapid response team, that world-class digital operation 24/7 to make sure that we're holding Kamala Harris accountable.
Tonight at 10, I'll give you a closer look with how both of these campaigns are looking to impress Wisconsin. Reporting live outside the United Center, Ellie La Liberté, News 3 Now. Back to you guys.
All right, Ellie, thank you. And having a woman ready to sit at the top of the Democratic presidential ticket in this race has changed both campaigns significantly.
It certainly has, and our Maddie Heimsch is on the DNC floor with more on Kamala Harris's identity and what that means for all women in politics. Maddie?
Yeah, you guys, I think it's needless to say that Kamala Harris is a unique candidate in this race, and if elected in November, would bring something to the White House we have never seen before. Now, it is her identity as a woman that she's bringing into this race that is unique from anything we've seen before, and when she accepts the Democratic Party's presidential nomination this week, she'll be the first ever black woman to sit at the top of a major party ticket, and only the second woman to ever do it, the first, of course, being Hillary Clinton in 2016. Clinton actually spoke on night one of the convention, talking a lot about just that. Being a woman on the national stage, she talked about, quote, breaking those glass ceilings. I spoke today with someone from Madison who knows all about that. Arvina Martin is the executive director of Emerge Wisconsin. She's also a member of the Madison Common Council and a delegate here at the convention. Here's what she had to say.
You never get good decisions and good policy if you're only listening to one point of view. And to miss out on the point of view of 50% of the population is just not acceptable.
Martin says Harris's identity as a woman is making a difference with voters. A CBS News poll conducted last week took likely voters and divided them by gender. Now, 54% of male voters were projected to vote for Trump, leaving 45% projected for Harris. But when it comes to women voters, almost the inverse. 44% of likely women voters went to Trump, while Harris took a big lead there among women voters with 56%. Now, we'll hear from some of those women voters tonight at the DNC later here on News 3 Now. But for now, I'm going to send it back to you, Eric and Charlotte. Reporting live from the convention floor, I'm Maddie Heimsch, News 3 Now.
All right, Maddie, thank you very much. And we do have a programming note that we want to pass along, and this really applies to the rest of the week. CBS expanding its primetime DNC coverage both today and also tomorrow night.
That coverage will begin at 8 p.m. Now, because of this, our DNC streaming program will begin at 7:30 on channel3000.com. We will have extended coverage of extensive coverage of today's events, and then we're going to take you to CBS's national coverage of the convention. You can watch both once again at channel3000.com. Coming up next on News 3 Now at 6, a federal judge makes a decision on if Wisconsin youth prison counselors should get more freedom to punish inmates.
Plus, more coverage from Chicago as the Democratic National Convention reaches day 3. Stay with us.
You're watching News 3 Now at 6, brought to you by Gruber Law Offices.
We've successfully represented people injured in truck accidents for more than 35 years. We know what it takes to get the results you deserve. Gruber Law Offices. One call, that's all.
I'm Vice President of the National Border Patrol Council. America needs a commander-in-chief who's tough on illegal immigration. Kamala Harris fails that test.
We're not going to treat people who are undocumented across the border as criminals. That's correct. That is correct.
Kamala was Biden's border czar. She supported sanctuary cities and taxpayer benefits for illegal immigrants. And she created the worst border crisis in American history. Kamala Harris is dangerous.
Preserve America PAC is responsible for the content of this advertising.
We would never hit 12 drunk.
Clutch it up drunk? Not a chance.
Do a stoppie drunk? We would never drift drunk. So you should never drive drunk. Drive sober or get pulled over.
This is you. And you are why we do what we do. Each and every one of you are wonderful, amazing people. So we'll treat you that way on your journey of trusted care. Because the way you feel matters. Unity Point Health Meritor, a partner of UW Health, know how much you matter to this world.
Tomorrow morning, our live team coverage from the Democratic National Convention continues. We'll set the stage for the final day of the convention and, of course, recap all of the big speeches from tonight. Join us from 4:30 to 7.
You're watching News 3 Now at 6. Moving forward.
Welcome back to our coverage of the Democratic National Convention in Chicago from the beautiful Lincoln Park Zoo. Right now, we're going to step away from the convention for just a little bit.
That's right. Let's head back to Jalen Banks. He's standing by in our Madison studio with the day's latest local headlines. Jalen?
Eric and Charlotte, thank you. We begin with a federal judge rejecting GOP calls to give counselors at Wisconsin's Troubled Youth Prison more leeway in controlling and punishing inmates. This after a counselor was killed during a fight at the facility this summer. U.S. District Judge James Peterson sent a letter saying that if changes are wanted at Lincoln Hills Copper Lake schools, a formal legal motion should be filed. He also wants to see evidence that current restrictions on counselors are endangering staff and inmates. Meanwhile, Republicans say they will continue to push for responsible training and tools at the youth prison. A local fast food restaurant closing abruptly. Tanasia Shaw spoke with the employees left blindsided.
A KFC in Reedsburg is closing, leaving over a dozen employees looking for a new place to work.
And then I got a call. We were all just standing there for a second, and she said, "We're done, the store's closed." And I did break down in tears, and she said to me, "Why are you crying?" And I was like, "I have bills to pay."
This is Abigail Carnell. She worked her way up as a crew member to assistant store manager at Kentucky Fried Chicken on Main Street. Now, Carnell and her colleagues have to start all over somewhere else.
So I have been here for 2.5, almost 3 years. I love this job. I have left and even come back a few times because I genuinely love working here. I love my coworkers. It's just a good place to be.
Everyone said they learned about the closure with a 24-hour notice.
When did she first tell you that you're
She called me on Tuesday morning.
Yesterday?
Yes.
So yesterday she told you that today is your last day?
Yesterday she told us Friday was going to be our last day, and then she called me this morning and said, actually, today's your last day.
After learning the store will close, employees found out the store isn't the only one that's shutting down.
We looked it up, and all of the ones in like Rockford area, everywhere, they were just closing down suddenly with the same note that we had to put on our door.
Here is the sign that Carnell said her district manager asked her to put up, saying in part, "This may come as a surprise, but it is the right decision for us at this time."
This KFC franchise is operated by EYM Foods. I did reach out to EYM, but I have not received a response yet. Reporting in Madison, News 3 Now, Tanasia Shaw.
Tanasia, thank you. The upcoming November election has some extra questions that could have direct economic impact on locals here in Madison. Our Merrill Hubbard is in Madison to define the differences between the two referendum questions.
There will be 2 referendums on your November ballot, so we're going to break down the differences between the city referendum and the MMSD referendum.
The real solution here is for the state legislature
to redo the levy limits and shared revenue.
Mayor Satya Rhodes-Conway says that referendums are not ideal, but due to limited funding from the state government, this is what the city needs to grow. The first is a $22 million referendum that aims to fix the city's deficit. If approved, the city referendum would increase property taxes for the average homeowner by more than $200 a year. It would raise funds for operating expenses for the city to close a budget gap. If the city referendum fails, though,
is that we would need to make some pretty deep cuts into city services.
Secondly, the Madison Metropolitan School District referendum is different and will ask voters two questions. One is for $100 million over 4 years to fund operations. The other, $500 million for the next 2 decades to address aging infrastructure. If voters reject the school referendums, the district says it will reduce pay and programming for staff in the district, and buildings will not see as many improvements. With these referenda being Madison and Madison School District specific, some people cannot vote on something that directly impacts them.
I live in Monona, so I'm not able to vote on the MMSD ones.
Stephanie is a second grade teacher in the MMSD district, and she has to leave this vote up to Madisonians.
I feel hope that so many of the families that I talk to from my school see the value in teachers.
If you want to keep up with everything as we approach Election Day, you can visit channel3000.com. Reporting in downtown Madison, Merrill Hubbard, News 3 Now.
Merrill, thank you. There's still more ahead on News 3 Now at 6. After the break, we head back to Chicago for more coverage of the Democratic National Convention. And we could see some rain by the end of the work week. We'll have your first one forecast when we come back.
The burn pit at our base in Iraq had just shut down, but the poisons were around us everywhere. Back home, I got diagnosed with cancer, but the VA denied coverage to a lot of us who got sick. Tammy Baldwin knew that was wrong, and she wasn't going to let that stand. She worked with both parties to pass a law. So now, thousands of us exposed to toxic chemicals are getting the care that we deserve. It took a fight, but Tammy Baldwin, she's a hell of a fighter.
I'm Tammy Baldwin, and I approve this message.
A little help here?
Oh, keep it down. The noise is making them angry.
Right now, buy one window and you'll get one free. Plus, no interest until 2026.
Call 866 for Feldco.
Chevy lets you begin every day fully charged, so you can go farther. And so can your money. Tow with confidence. Plus, stay connected with available OnStar technology. For summer adventures, Chevy's got you. Get 1.9% financing on this 2024 Silverado when you finance with GM Financial. Or get $5,750 total value when you trade in an eligible vehicle. Chevrolet, the #1 selling brand in Wisconsin.
I have no idea what I'm doing. My dad has Parkinson's and we need more support. That's why I connected with a Grace. Now I have a partner to help me understand what to expect. Choose more support and less stress with a Grace. Authentic care and connection.
Action! Get up to 60% off list prices on hundreds of items at the huge Labor Day sale at Slumberland Furniture.
Incredible deals. Just $3.95 to shake up your living room with a fresh new sofa. Get a power recliner for a steal. And a poster bed in 2 different colors. Or a super padded, comfy, family-friendly reclining sectional. And, of course, totally free doorstep shipping with no minimum.
Up to 60% off at the huge Labor Day sale at Slumberland Furniture. Do not miss this one.
Drugs, gangs, and crime are flooding into our communities. But instead of getting tough on the border, Senator Tammy Baldwin supported amnesty for 11 million illegal immigrants, including convicted criminals. Criminals like an illegal immigrant with multiple DUI charges who went on to kill a Wisconsin father of 3 while driving drunk again. Tell Senator Tammy Baldwin no amnesty for illegal immigrants, especially criminals. Vote to secure the border.
Watching News 3 Now at 6.
Welcome back. And for the first time in convention history, there are more than 200 content creators here in Chicago who have been credentialed by the DNC committee.
Creators will have the same opportunities as traditional media companies to cover the convention and speak with politicians. As Kyrion Lee shares, DNC organizers are hoping to reach more Americans than ever before.
For the first time ever, the Democratic National Convention
is credentialing content creators.
And guess what? Now I'm one of them.
To reach voters young and old, the Democratic National Convention Committee decided to take a different approach by opening the door to content creators.
Well, I think it's really smart because we know that there is an entire part of the population that now, for better or worse, gets their news on TikTok or another social media.
Kristen Bry is a Madison native and among the creators in the content creator program who are credentialed for the convention.
Majority of the feedback I got from people who enjoyed my RNC coverage online was that they felt like it was fun. They felt like they got the curtain pulled back a little bit of what it was like inside. And so I'm trying to repeat that as opposed to here's what the DNC platform is and, talking about the different policy issues, because I think a lot of people will have that covered. And so I'm trying to bring my own flavor to it.
Bry is a host for Milwaukee's WTMJ AM radio and video columnist for the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel. But she is going into the DNC representing herself and her platform, As Goes Wisconsin. It's where she got her start and has gained more than 60,000 followers on TikTok. When searching As Goes Wisconsin, you'll find content about state news, politics, and culture that Bry describes as informative, uncomplicated, and irreverent.
This is going to be a great week.
Although Bry says she has left-leaning views, she plans to be herself.
There's more of a objective line I'm trying to walk, and I think that's actually better. That improves my content anyways, rather than just sharing my opinion all the time.
As part of the content creator program, Bry says the DNCC does not have guidelines about how they share their convention content online.
Kyrian Lee reporting there. Temperatures starting to warm back up. Let's head back to Madison, where meteorologist Jacob Madison joins us with your first warn forecast. Jacob?
Thanks, Eric. And yes, they are going to continue to warm up as we head into the weekend. By Saturday, we'll see highs in the 80s, but we also have a few small chances of rainfall. Now, the two chances of rain that we do have, both are pretty minor. We're not going to see a ton of precipitation, but we are going to see at least a little bit of rain across our area, and 70s are going to return to the forecast, but not until later next week. Now, it is still going to be in the 70s for tomorrow and Friday as well. A few locations could hit 80, but it's still going to be pretty comfortable, right near average actually for this time of the year. But those temperatures will hit the 80s by Saturday, and they're going to continue to be in the 80s through the first half of next week, possibly up to the lower 90s for a few locations, and heat index values will likely get into the 90s at some point. So here's a look at the future track heat index forecast. Saturday will be warm, but not too bad. Once we get into Sunday, that's when we're going to start to see those heat index values at and around 90 degrees. And then Monday and Tuesday, we're going to continue to see some of those high heat index values, possibly as warm as 95. So this isn't anything we haven't seen before, but still, it is worth mentioning that conditions will get a little uncomfortable. Tuesday, it will start to get a little better, but still going to be fairly warm, and then it's going to continuously get better each day after that. Now, looking at that rainfall forecast, the first chance of rain we have will be on Friday, but it looks like most of the rain will stay west of Madison. Those of you near the Mississippi River have a much better chance of rainfall than Madison and points southeastward and eastward. But even if it does rain, it will likely be pretty light, not expected to last very long. And then we're going to be dry during the day on Saturday, but our next chance of rain will come Saturday night, as we'll see a little bit more widespread rain for our area. Some pockets of heavy rain are possible, but this will mostly occur after sunset Saturday and before sunrise on Sunday. So again, not expect to be a huge issue. We are going to be dry once again for the afternoon hours Sunday. And looking at the total precipitation from Friday's chance and Saturday night's chance, we're only going to see about a quarter of an inch at most, maybe a few locations creeping up to around a half inch. But a lot of our area may still not see any rain throughout the entire weekend. So it is worth mentioning that especially areas northeast of Madison will likely remain fairly dry, if not completely dry. So looking at the full 7 to 10 day forecast, there's a little bit of a better chance of rain towards the end of next week. Thursday and Friday, we do have a little bit of a better chance of rain during the day. But until then, most of the daytime will be dry, again, with the exception of some areas west of Madison on Friday. And then Saturday night, we'll see that rainfall, but again, mostly during the overnight hours. Temperatures will be a little bit of a roller coaster, but nothing too extreme. A little bit above average, upper 80s, and then below average by the time we get towards the end of next week.
News 3 Now First Warn Weather is brought to you by Lazy Boy Home Furnishings and Decor.
Discover a shopping and design experience as comfortable as the furniture. Lazy Boy Home Furnishings and Decor. Schedule your free design consultation today.
We know the fentanyl coming from Mexico and China is a threat here in Wisconsin.
It's why Tammy Baldwin is working to stop it.
And Tammy passed the bipartisan Fend Off Fentanyl Act.
It takes on the Mexican cartels and the fentanyl coming from China.
And Tammy Baldwin voted 32 times to strengthen our border.
32 times to increase border patrols.
And technology to keep illegal drugs out. Because Senator Baldwin knows
keeping us safe is her first priority.
Tell Tammy Baldwin to keep securing our borders.
Get an 11% rebate on your painting project at Menards. Dutch Boy DuraClean is an interior paint and primer in one with Stay Clean technology, so your home stays beautiful longer. A gallon starts at $19.48 after rebate. Give your space the platinum treatment with Platinum Plus interior paint. Its stain shield technology protects your spaces with a performance you'd expect from a luxury paint at a price you wouldn't. Get a gallon starting at $36.48 after 11% rebate.
Save big money at Menards.
Drive into summer with the rugged Honda Ridgeline, Passport, and Pilot. Summer is for exploring, so get outdoors, kick up some dust, get muddy, or just find that perfect campsite. All from Honda, the 2024 Kelley Blue Book's KBB.com Best Value brand. So act now to get an offer you'll love. Buy online, reserve from select dealers, or hurry into the Honda Summer Event.
50 years ago, I prayed this prayer, and it changed my life, and it can change your life. You see, I was just sick and tired of being sick and tired, and my life was in a mess. And I just got on my knees one night, and I said, God, I've sinned against you. I'm sorry. Forgive me. And I said, I believe Jesus Christ is your Son, and I believe that he took my sins to the cross, and he died and shed his blood for my sins, and that he was buried, and that you raised him to life, and I'd like to invite him to come into my heart right now. And I prayed that prayer, and God heard my prayer, and he forgave me, and he'll forgive you, and he'll cleanse you and change your life starting today. Just pray this prayer. So say, God, I'm a sinner. I'm sorry. Forgive me. I believe Jesus is your Son. I want to trust him as my Savior and follow him as my Lord from this day forward. Amen. If you prayed that prayer, I want you to call right now that number that's on the screen. Call that number, and may God bless you.
And as we do wind down News 3 Now at 6, we have a quick programming note to pass along for the rest of the Democratic National Convention. This applies to both tonight and tomorrow night as well.
CBS is expanding its primetime DNC coverage today and tomorrow night, so that coverage is going to begin at 8 p.m. Now, because of this, our DNC streaming show will begin at 7:30 on channel3000.com, and we will have extensive coverage of today's events, which will then go right into CBS's national coverage of the convention. To watch both, just head to channel3000.com.
Thanks for joining us for News 3 Now at 6. Have a great evening. We'll be back here tonight after the convention, tonight on News 3 Now at 10.